That's bad.
All right, what's happening, guys? Today we're getting back to work on the Snake Oil 55 Chevy. This is the 1955 Chevy Bel Air that I picked up like 2 years ago, I think, and have just been slowly tinkering on it here and there. But I'm starting to lose patience and wanting to kind of get more work done on this thing. So today the plan is to hopefully get the rear end looking as good as we got the front end looking. So we need to get this thing up on the jack stands because we got this old turd blocking the hoist. So we're going to get this thing up on jack stands as high as we can get it so that it's comfortable to work under. And basically everything that's not a frame rail, we're just cutting out of the back, getting out of our way. So the flavor of rear end we went with is this Ford 8.8 out of an Explorer. It is already shortened, so it's about 56.5 inches wheel mounting surface to wheel mounting surface. I got all the brake stuff underneath the shop back there where it can stay nice and safe. I'm pretty sure this is 373 gears, but I haven't looked in it in like a year, so I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure it's 373. Limited slip that I'll end up pulling apart and welding up at some point. And then over here we've got our suspension in a box that is all laid out. I got one of them together so you can kind of see what we got going on, but it is a very basic ladder bar kit. If you were trying to build something like ultra competitive, you'd probably be more apt to go with like a 4-link setup. But this is mostly a street strip style car, something I want to drive a lot and make a lot of passes in. So I wanted something basic that I knew would work and has been around since the Romans were racing each other in wagons. So as you can tell by some of the stickers on the boxes over there, this stuff is all from Jegs. Like I said, we got a ladder bar kit here. Basically, we'll cut out all the leaf springs, weld this cross member in, and that'll be where we locate the front of the ladder bars, weld these flanges to the axle, and then that's all in. Our suspension will be these Jegs coilovers, which I have it on really good authority that these are just QA1s with Jegs stickers on them. They are double adjustable, and I want to say they were like half the price of QA1s, or like 2/3 the price, something like that, for what is supposed to be the same thing. So that's nice. So our first step is to get this car jacked way up and start making some room underneath for everything. And to start, since this isn't just a basic bolt-in deal, we are going to plumb bob some stuff. Gonna get that lined up with the center line of the rear axle on each side, tape it really good so that it hopefully doesn't move, and then got a lot more measurements to take. So I'm also trying to think of where I want to put the front mount of the cross member. I mean, I know where it's going to be in relation, like how far forward of the axle, but how high do I want it in the car? Because that's going to drastically change how the car reacts on launch. If I have it really low, that's going to want to push the car down. It's going to make it squat. If I have it really high, it's going to push the car up. It's going to make it separate, which will be good for like a radial, which is kind of what I'm thinking. This car, like I said, I want to drive it a lot, so it's probably going to live most of its life on a radial, but I don't know. I might just set it up so that the center hole is neutral on the anti-squat line, and then I can make that little bit of adjustment. I don't know if that like 1.5 inch difference of the mounting holes is going to make a crazy difference. Like, let's say, speaking in hypotheticals, of course, let's say the center hole on the cross member is at 100%. So it leaves more or less neutral if you exclude things like weight transfer and stuff. If I move it down, I imagine that takes it to like 87%. I don't know if that's enough to make a significant difference. If I move it up, it might go like 113%. Like I said, these are all hypotheticals. I'm just kind of thinking out loud and where I want to put it, because there's kind of a lot of things to consider. This is like the suspension of the car. It's not something like a roll cage that you can just half-ass together. That was a dumb joke. Someone's going to think that was serious. But like I said, first I'm going to get the plumb bobs set up so that's all good. And then I'll take some more measurements and see where I want to set things up so that I can hopefully kind of mark stuff before I lift it up, because I don't mind this ride height. I like how the rear is setting. I wouldn't mind the front being a tad lower, but I kind of like this ride height. And also, looking at it, it looks like the rear end could go a skosh forward. Like, to me, it looks like the wheel is just a little back in that arch. So I wouldn't mind it being a skosh forward. And we do have adjustable ladder bars, so we've got some play there. So it's not the end of the world if it's not perfectly lined up. But I'd like things to be as square as I can reasonably get it. So let me get this all kind of set up. All right. We are looking pretty dang good there. Got the same thing on the other side. So one of the next order of businesses that we've got to do is enlarge the axle opening on these brackets, because this is for a 3-inch axle housing and the 8.8 is a 3 1/4. So shouldn't take too long. I'm going to try to leave the top and the front alone and just see if I can enlarge it on the bottom side and try to clamp them all together so that they're all as close to uniform as I can get it. Alright, that's about as good as I'm going to get that lined up. So like I said, I'm going to try and just shave it off the bottom here. That way there's plenty of meat at the top here. And someday down the road, I've seen, I think it was Meticulous had an issue with this a few years ago. He had to create a like a back piece for his. Alright, let's test them for the third time, for the final time. That is pretty good. Alright, so that is done. So now, once we're ready and got all our angles figured out, we can grind some of the coating off that, some of the paint off that, and get those welded on. So I guess the only thing left is get the car jacked up, start pulling the rear end apart. You know, I think that I might not have the right combination of jack stands and blocks and stuff to get this thing up where I need it. So I might have to push the Mustang outside and put this on the rollers and finagle it over to the hoist, which I'd be fine with. I'd much rather work on the hoist. Plus, I haven't had this thing on the hoist at all. Since I've had the car, I backed it in where the Skylark is, and then put it on the rollers, and then moved it over here. And that's basically all that we've done with it. So yeah, I might have to push this thing outside. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that real quick. Alright, I was really hoping that thing wouldn't try to take off going down the hill. Parked the Envoy there just in case it did jump that board. It would smash both my vehicles at once. But man, this thing looks pretty good out. So you can see the whole thing. Yeah, that is not a bad looking car. Once the rear end comes down, cut a hole in the hood for the intake. Heck yeah, man. Now, the fun part, I gotta move a couple things there. We'll lift the hoist all the way up to get the arms out of the way. And then we'll just start swinging that bitch around. Alright, got the 55 over by the hoist for the first time since I've ever had the car. Exciting, exciting. Now we can get it lifted up. I know that it's rusty under there. I've crawled under the car before, so I know that like There's a lot of rust flakes and stuff under there, but it's not beyond repair. And even if it was, I would lie and say that it's not beyond repair. I know it might not seem like it, but I'm kind of trying to keep myself like in check with this car and not go like crazy with stuff before I even get it like running and driving and moving under its own power. But boy, would I just like to put a rack on it. All right, start taking this thing up and pray it stays in one piece. All right, so got the car lifted up, and for the most part, it looks kind of like I expected. Like, I mean, just looking at the car, you can tell, like, these rockers have been messed with. There's, like, a outer layer there, and you can see more evidence of that under here, hopefully. I don't know what you guys can see, actually. So, like, I knew all this wasn't great to begin with. Not worried about that. In here, the frame is, like, scaly and covered in grease and dirt. Nothing real crazy concerning there. The floor is about what you do expect for a 70-year-old car. And then back here, more of the same until we get to right here. This is where it's real bad, and I never saw that. So we've got a Swiss cheese frame rail right here. I was hoping to leave the frame rails intact and not mess with them. So obviously that is not ideal. So now I've got to start thinking, what do I want to do there? Do I want to cut all of that out and replate it? Do I want to cut it and back half the car? I'd like to not back half the car. I'd also like to not have to plate my frame rail. The cross member for the ladder bars would mount right about in here, which is fortunately ahead of all of that. So I could damn near cut these like right here and eliminate those. But like I said, I'd like to not do that. So I've got some thinking to do. I can still get the rear end and everything pulled out of the car. That needs to come out regardless, no matter what I do. And then, yeah, just figure out which way we want to go with all this. The joys of cheap 70-year-old cars. But hey, that's hot rodding. We'll figure it out one way or another, and we'll do as good a job as we know how to do. All right, it is the next night, and after thinking about it for a little bit, I decided that I'm going to cut everything out of the back end of this car. I mean, not everything. Like, I want to leave a lot of the trunk pan intact, what's left of it, but a good chunk of everything is coming out of this car. I was thinking, like, I could patch that and make it work and clean it all up. You'd never be able to tell. It'd still be plenty strong. But I would probably be better off long term if I just back half the car. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna have to remake a couple body mounts. One here on each side. Like I said, from like here back, I'm okay with cutting the trunk pan out, but everything up here I'd like to keep intact. It's all in pretty good shape. All this stuff, you can see it's got some pretty janky patches in it, so doesn't break my heart to cut that out. And then we'll probably join it back into the stock stuff right in here, maybe. I don't know, maybe in here. For right now, I just want to get everything out of the back of this car, get the rear end out, and maybe get these frame rails cut so that we can see what we're working with, and probably get the gas tank out too. Just like I said, get everything out of here. So that's what I'm gonna do. sure that when they screwed down the sheet metal, that they just screwed into the gas tank. I'm pretty sure the gas tank's held in with self-tappers right now. Because they were just zipping them fucking things everywhere. Oh, that would be so funny. Oh, gotta lower the car down and investigate that. Oh my god, that's so funny. There's a bunch of them. I bet we undo these and the gas tank falls right out. There we go. Yeah, you can see why I'm not super heartbroken about cutting a good chunk of this floor out. Like, from here over, not the best. And the spare tire tunnel also is sayonara. But everything up there is good. Well, while I'm here, I can get this all cleaned up before I forget. And, ooh, that's heavy. And cut that out from underneath, probably. I could go over it up top. I don't know. One way or another, all this stuff has to come out. What is this? Oh, no way. No freaking way. This is a mini spool. I was looking for this when I was doing the rear end on the friggin' Skylark. I had to buy a new mini spool for that, because I couldn't find this dang thing. This is for a GM 10-bolt 28 spline. Well, I'm going to put this somewhere where I'll remember it, and I'll never forget it again, in here with the rest of the stuff that I forgot about. Alright, got all the screws out, started to lift it up, but I figured we could be here together for this reveal. Looks like I might have not got them all out. Yep. Come on. Don't need any screws laying around the floor. Alright. You know, all things considered, it's not the worst I've ever seen. And I truly mean that. I had a 64 Galaxy crew cab that we bought as a flip, and the trunk was like one of those glass bottom boats, minus the glass, but that thing was definitely a boat. We are going to do some mini tubs, so I'm not worried about any of that. Basically, I can follow that line. I could damn near cut from that brake all the way up there, this whole thing out. Because I think once I get the new back half in, I'm going to weld some bars to help brace it. I'm going to try and keep them out of the way as much as I can. Like, I might try to angle them somehow. Get a little pro street with it, you know? But yeah. All this shit is just hopes and dreams right here. I'm debating on if I want to just cut it out now. Shit. Uh-oh. Forgot about a brake line. All right, got the stock rear end out of the car. Car didn't fall in half, so that's good. And then I figured while I'm at it, I might as well get these tubs cut out. So, I think they're... It was a fight, but finally got it out. So I was originally planning on just moving the stock tubs over a little bit and welding a filler piece, but I don't know. Something tells me that one's not really worth moving over. All right, so this really got out of hand, huh? I initially told myself this was gonna be just a simple thing. I didn't want to back half the car because I didn't want this to turn into like a whole long process, and now it has turned into a whole long process. So, got the rear end out. Let me just recap everything that's happened. Got the rear end out. Remember how I said I was gonna leave the trunk intact? Yeah. So that's all coming out now too. Which isn't the end of the world. I mean, at this point, this is all that's solid that was left, and actually up there I've got to cut some out also. But, oh well, is what it is, I guess. We should end up with a better finished product. But, yeah, this was supposed to be just a quick, simple, like, day or two ladder bar install. Like, all we had to do was cut out the leaf springs, get the perches and stuff off, weld in the cross member, weld in a shock support or a shock mount, and then we were done. That's all it was going to be, and now we're back halving the car. So I've got an idea how I want to do it. I've talked to a couple people, got their opinion to kind of confirm my own suspicions, and here's my plan. I'm going to leave the stock frame rails intact as much as possible to keep things kind of lined up and happy while I make the new back half. I was thinking, do I want to go tubular? Do I want to just do the basic, like 2x3 box tubing? And everyone was like, I mean, at this point, think long term. Why not just build a tubular back half for it? So that's kind of what we're going to do. It's not going to be anything crazy. We're going to build off of the ladder bar mount, and I'll just bend up a couple pieces. That way, like with the box tubing, I'd have to cut and match all the angles and everything. A lot more welding. This, we'll build it off the ladder bar mount, the cross member, bring it back, probably right about in here somewhere, weld a bar across, and tie it into that. Cut the frame rails out, weld in a couple brace bars here and there, blah, blah, blah. And then we should be good. Obviously, got the wheel tubs cut out because those were also Swiss cheese. What I originally wanted to do before I saw how bad they were was just cut them, move them over a couple inches, and weld in a new piece up there. But at this point, like, might as well just, like, I think Summit or Jegs, one of them has 36-inch wheel tubs, which is about the diameter of that, for like $120. So I'll probably just pick those up, blast them things in there, call it a day. The part that's going to kind of suck is where the trunk mounts to the body, or mounts to the frame, excuse me. That's going to be a little tricky to patch up, but we'll get it figured out, and hopefully down the road this will all pay off. We'll have a nice trunk, fuel cell underneath of it. I'm going to try to make the stock, I mean not the stock, but make a filler work for it, so that'll be cool. That's what I did on the RX-7. There's just something nice and street car about filling through the stock fill neck. So unfortunately, that means I get the privilege of ordering more parts for it. So that's going to do it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking around with the everything that we got going on here. And I'll see you guys next time.